Guys, good morning. Sorry for the delay. I was in another session, got a couple of questions there and just delayed joining here. So let us continue with our discussion on whatever we were discussing yesterday, and then we'll continue to understand further details on Azure services and then how do you access and other stuff today. Okay. Now, yesterday when we were talking about in our first class, whatever we were discussing, we discussed what is a cloud computing is, right? And then we understood infrastructure as service, software as service, platform as service. And then we understood a marketplace and we understood um, regions, geographies, and different countries where Azure has got its presence. And then we also understood something called as availability zones, right? So this was the discussion that what we had yesterday. Now, what we also understood yesterday was whatever you access on Azure, you access it as a service, right? You access it as a service. Okay, so you as an organization, let us say, decided to adopt cloud, but how do you access Azure cloud? Or not only just access, right? Deploy, manage, right? Access resources on Azure cloud. So let us say now you as an organization understood that, okay, so you want to go with Azure cloud, and in order to use Azure cloud, you need to have something called a subscription. Right, you need to subscribe yourself to the Azure cloud services. That's what your subscription is coming into picture. So there are multiple subscription types which we will be discussing in detail in our one of our classes where we discuss only subscriptions. But for you to understand what subscription is, it's you signing up with Microsoft Azure by using some agreement. It could be pay as you go, which means that whenever you use, you pay for that, which means that there will be a monthly billing that it will get generated and you pay for that. That is pay as you go subscription. There is some other subscription called as enterprise agreement. If you are a large customer, you are already a part, maybe using some products of Microsoft, then you may negotiate on pricing because you are already a customer and you're using their services, then you may get some discounts there. That is enterprise agreement for the entire organization. So there are multiple subscriptions like this. There's a free trial subscription which you will be using, right? Free trial subscription. And as I said, pay as you go. There's something called as EA, enterprise agreement, and so on. So in order to use the services on Azure, you will be having one of these, what do you call it as, subscriptions. So in order to subscribe yourself, initially you will be using some user ID and some username, email, and password. Right? That's how you subscribe yourself. Right? Whenever you subscribe to any site or anything, so you do the same thing. Right? You fill your details. Similarly, when you subscribe yourself to Azure, you will sign up, and where you provide your what do you call it as name, email address, password, PAN card, and so on. And that will vary if you as an organization subscribe. But ultimately, you will have a username and password to get into the portal. So for you to practice, you will be creating a free trial account. During the free trial account creation, you will be providing your username, your email address, your mobile number, and of course your PAN number, and then a credit card for just validation purpose. They don't deduct anything. I'll explain you how to create a free trial account, but let us wait for a couple of days for that to get for us to go and create it. Okay, so let us say that you went with a free trial subscription and you subscribed yourself. Okay, you subscribed yourself. So once you subscribe yourself to the Azure account or Azure, so then there are multiple modes of accessing it. There are multiple modes of connecting to the Azure environments. So one of them is Porter. One of them is Porter. So if you are using Portal, you use this portal, okay, HTTPS portal.azure.com. This is the portal that which you use to get into the Azure environment. And when you get into the portal, the look and feel of the portal is something like this. Okay, so the look and feel of the portal will be something like this. Right, the same thing that whatever you are seeing here is portal.azure.com. Now, what are the other ways of accessing the environment? The other ways of accessing the environment apart from portal is PowerShell. You can use a PowerShell command line interface, and you can connect it to Azure portal using PowerShell. So let us say that you want to use a PowerShell on your as machine. Then you can launch your PowerShell, and then you can connect to the Azure environment using some command lines, right? So something like connect-az account. Then it will ask you the credentials. So once you provide your credentials here, then you will be able to directly connect it to your Azure account or Azure subscription rather. And whatever the commands you execute here on your local machine, they will be triggered on the Azure cloud. Very much possible. So that is using a PowerShell. So here you are using a bunch of command line tools or commands to execute the deployments or management of the existing resources or whatsoever. So that is the other way of accessing. No, you may not want to use PowerShell. Then there is another tool called as Azure CLI. So Azure CLI is another command line tool where you will be installing Azure CLI executable on your local machine, and you can be able to use Azure CLI commandlets. Like you have commandlets on PowerShell, you will also have commandlets on Azure CLI. You can use PowerShell or Azure CLI. Now, what is the difference between Azure PowerShell and CLI? When I should use PowerShell and when I should be using CLI, Azure CLI? PowerShell, you can install it only on Windows, right? You can use it only on Windows machine. Whereas Azure CLI, you can use this on Windows, Linux, and Macintosh operating system. So it's a command line, set of command lines. If it is a Windows, you install Azure CLI.exe and you will be able to execute all the Azure CLI commandlets. If you are using some Linux machine, respective binaries, you will be downloading it and installing it. And so as your Mac, right? So this is other way of managing and deploying the resources. And the other way as well is using Visual Studio.net. If you are a developer and you want to deploy the resources using Microsoft Visual Studio, you can do it using Visual Studio.net. No, you are a developer in Python or Ruby or whatsoever, then you can download SDKs of that respective programming language. Azure provides you software development kits of that language. You can download the SDKs, install them, and code in that language in whichever you are comfortable. That is your SDKs. And then it also provides you the other mode of deploying where you call it as ARM templates. These templates are written in JSON. Okay, so these are written in JSON, which stands for Java Script Object Notation. Or you can also use other tools like Terraform and others. Terraform. So one of these tools you will be using to deploy manage environment. It may vary from organization to organization. Some organizations, if they got multiple cloud environments, maybe Azure, GCP, AWS, Alibaba, and so on, they may prefer using Terraform, where you can use this tool across multiple cloud platforms. Now, if you are more into a Microsoft management, you want to do a bulk deployment, then you will be using ARM templates. Or you can also use these other tools. Now, what is that we are going to see in this course? We'll be seeing Portal, we'll be seeing PowerShell, we'll be seeing Azure CLI, and we'll also see Terraform. So we are not going to, we are going to see ARM templates. We are not going to touch Terraform and then Visual Studio .NET and SDKs. And when I say SDKs, other programming languages. So what we learn here is you have multiple tools to deploy, manage, and access resources on Azure Cloud. And those tools are your Portal, which we had seen, a PowerShell, which is on your machine, Windows machine, which you can use it. Azure CLI, it's a separate executable which you download and install it on your Windows machine if it is Windows. So as you download respective binaries for Linux and Mac machines and then install their Azure CLI and run the same CLI commands from any operating system. And Visual Studio .NET for the developers who want to use Visual Studio to deploy infrastructure or applications or whatsoever, whichever the service, infrastructure as service, PaaS or SaaS, you can code and deploy it. And SDKs, if you are good at Python and any other language, use SDKs and deploy it. ARM templates, it uses a Java script object notation language, JSON script. And to create the template, you can use this template to deploy. And Terraform is another third-party tool people will use widely to deploy things. Right? So initially, we will be concentrating on Portal itself. So that once we are comfortable with Portal, then we'll switch into PowerShell and CLI and then ARM templates. At least for next few days, we will be performing all the activities using Portal. Okay. So once you are comfortable with Portal, then we'll go to the other tools. Okay. Now, so what is this Portal? Now, as I said, this Portal is portal.azure.com. Right? Let me try to log into this. Right? So this is how your Portal accessibility will be. When you access your Portal, you will be asked for authentication. You provide your credentials, whatever you use to subscribe yourself. Then username, password, right? When you log in, that is how your portal looks like. This is how your portal looks like. Okay, simple, straightforward. I'll give you an article to how to subscribe yourself using a trial account. You can do it. Okay, so once you subscribe, you will be able to get into it using your credentials. Now, when you log into the portal, now this is how the look and feel of your portal is. Let us try to understand this portal a little bit. Okay, so that we are comfortable whenever we use this portal. Now, when you log in, your credentials, to what account and with what account you logged in, and all those things will be shown here towards your right side, right? So these are all your account details. Okay, account details. And then the other important thing is the settings option. Okay, portal settings. So the portal settings will help you to kind of change the look and feel of this entire portal. Maybe you may not like this color. You may like some dark color, then you can change it, right? So it's more like customizing your portal look and feel, right? The theme change and other stuff. It's not only theme change, right? So if you are not performing any activity, maybe for some X number of minutes, then you may want to automatically, kicked out by Azure if there is an ideal time, right? So that you can specify here. If there is no activity as such for 15 minutes, I'm not using this portal for 15 minutes, I will be automatically logged out, right? So that's what this setting is for. So automatically sign me out whenever there is an what you call it as there is no activity as such, right? Whenever there is no activity as such, you can automatically sign me out. So you can customize the duration, or you can select one of the timings that whatever you have. And then you also see this option called as choose your default mode of the portal, right? So this is portal menu. Now, if you want to go with a flyout, and these will be, whatever you see here, they will be hidden, right? If you go with a docked mode, then you will see them, docked into the portal itself. Otherwise, if you may want to hide it, whenever you want to use it, you can use it by clicking on these three lines that whatever you see. And then what you see here is enable pop-up notifications. This notifications is nothing but this bell icon that whatever you see. I'll explain you that in a while. Right? These are the different options you got here. Right? Under the portal settings, you can switch, you can change the theme of your portal. You can configure your log out or sign me out if there is an ideal time, kind of. And of course, you can also change the language. Maybe you're comfortable with some other language, then you can go and change the language of the portal. So this is your portal setting, okay? This is your portal settings. And then you got this notification option here. Notifications will help you to kind of understand the deployment status. Let us say you deployed a resource, maybe a storage account, or maybe a load balancer, or maybe virtual machine on Azure Cloud. What is the status, whether it is deployed successfully or not, or whether it is in progress, or how long it has been running. If it is failed, then why it has failed. So it gives you information on the resources that which are getting deployed. And it also gives you information when the resource is deployed, and if it is so, then whether it is successful or failed. So that level of information you can get in the notification. You may want to go and look at previous activities, then you can go to this option called as more events in the activity logs. Then it will give you the entire activity log, whatever the, what you call it as activities you performed in last few hours, or you can even filter further, right? It gives you by default 6 hours. Maybe you can go to a custom settings and you can see all your past activities. So notification is, as I said, is an option which will help you to kind of understand the status of the deployment of any resource. Okay, so that is your notification option. And after notification, you got this directory and subscriptions. This I'm not going to explain you now, but we'll discuss this in detail later. Now the next one is Cloud Shell. Now we were talking about two command line interfaces when we were discussing the way how you access your Azure environment. One is PowerShell, the other one is Azure CLI. Now PowerShell, I said I can get into my machine, and then I use Azure CLI commands and then authenticate and then connect it to the Azure environment by using Azure CLI or PowerShell. Anyway, you can use your local machine. For some reason, let us say you may not want to use your, what do you call it as, local laptop or desktop, then you got this option of inbuilt, what do you call it as, shell. So Azure provides you a inbuilt shell, which you can use to execute all those PowerShell and Azure CLI commands. Rather using your local machine, you can use this embedded, what you call it as, Cloud Shell, which will allow you to run both your PowerShell command lines as well as your Azure CLI. So now you are not comfortable with this smaller window, you can open this entire session into a new tab itself within your Internet Explorer or whatever the Explorer you're using, browser you're using. Right, you see this option called as new session. Right, if you click that, then it will open a complete command line interface in a new tab itself. Now this will be a better option for you if you want to go and run some commands and manage things using PowerShell or Azure CLI. So now you have a way to access your command line interface within the Azure portal by using this Cloud Shell. Right, that is the advantage of Cloud Shell. And the next option that what you see here is search for resources and services and docs. Let us say you want to deploy some service, maybe a SQL service. Then you can go and search for a SQL service from here. Maybe you want to look for an Oracle database instance. Then you can go and search for Oracle database instance from here, and you can go and deploy it within the portal. So this will help you to search different services that which you have on Azure. Maybe you want to deploy a load balancer. You can search for it, then you can go to navigate to load balancer services. Or maybe you are looking for a firewall service. I can go and search for a firewall service. I can go to that service from here. Rather going to all services, navigating different options, you can go here and search for a specific service that which you are looking for. That's what this search option will help you with. Now, it's not only to search a service that which you want to use, but it will also help you to kind of go and find a resource that which you already have in the environment. Maybe you may want to access a server with a name called as VM1. And if you got that resource in the environment, then you see that listed here. I already got a resource with the name called as VM1. I can directly switch to that. So this search option will help you to go and search for the services that which you want to use. B, you can also search the resources that whatever you have in the environment. Right? And of course, it also says you can also go and search for documentation and other stuff. You can use it for that one as well. That is the advantage of this search option. And towards your left side, what you see here again are different options here, right? So create resource. Now create resource is again a way to deploy a resources, right? Now you see the popular services that whatever are used or listed here, the featured and popular ones. So if you want to use a Windows 2016 deployment, you can go Ubuntu server deployment, web services, kind of other stuff. No, you don't have all these listed in the popular. Then yesterday we were discussing about the marketplace. Now, whatever the categorization you had seen in the marketplace, the same categorization of services are listed here. Now you can go to a specific service and look for the services that whatever you are looking for and then deploy from here. So you can use the create resource option, or you can use this all services option. This is also the same look and feel, right? So you can go to the compute, you'll see all the categories, all the different services within the compute. In the compute, you have virtual machine deployment, you have Kubernetes, you have disk management, and so on. So either you come here to the services, deploy it, all services and deploy a resource, or create a resource from here, or search a service from here and deploy it. Either way, whatever the option you choose, it takes you the same, right? So that's what your create resource all services options are for, to deploy the resources. Now you got this home option, right? This is the home view, okay? So in the home, what does it show you is, it shows you recently accessed services. Now we were searching firewall a minute back. We were searching load balancer a minute back. We were searching what you call virtual machines a minute back, few minutes back maybe, right? So you see all those what you call it services that which you recently accessed here. And it's not only the services that which you recently accessed, but it will also show you the recent resources that which you accessed. And if you come down, scroll down, then you see other options like subscriptions and all those things. And one important thing for you as a learner is this Microsoft Learn. Okay, so this is a very you know, what do you call it as it's a good repository of documentation which will help you to enhance your skill. Now you can go and what do you call it as explore based on certifications, based on learning path and so on. Now all you can see there are some already popular modules. No, you don't want to use this page, then you can go to explore certifications. Then you can look for certification based learning, right? You can look for certification based learning, right? So maybe you are looking for Azure Administrator Associate. Now here you see the online free learning, AZ104 prerequisites, manage identities, so multiple topics here where you can go and learn on your own, which is a very good documentation from Microsoft. But you have to sit and read. That is important, right? So this Learn, I suggest you to spend a few hours a day reading the Learn so that you will get very good knowledge. Okay, so that is about your home page. Now there is something called as dashboard, right? So I think you guys understand the term called as dashboard, right? So where you have a customized what do you call it as look and feel with the items that which you may want to monitor. That's your dashboard. So you can create your own dashboard and tag different services or applications to the dashboard. Maybe you got some critical applications and you can create a dashboard for your critical applications, pin your critical applications to those dashboards so that you have, whenever you switch to that dashboard, you will have that view of those applications. Maybe you got some service which you access very frequently, then you can pin it to a dashboard. Or you got multiple environments and each environment has got some specific set of services or resources which you access frequently. Then I can create a multiple dashboards and pin you know, resources specific to that environment to the dashboard. So how do you create a dashboard? You can see here an option called as new dashboard. You can create a blank dashboard and name it, let us say, development dashboard. And then you can add resources from here. You can add different resources from here. No, you want to add a specific resource after the deployment, then you can, after the deployment in the notification, I'll show you that in a while, in the notification bar, it will give you an option, pin it to a dashboard. Then you can kind of go and pin during the deployment itself. Now you see in the development dashboard, I have these resources listed. Now I can directly go to this resource from the dashboard itself. So it helps you for better management. It helps you with better management. Right? It helps you with better management. So that is the dashboard. So you can switch between different dashboards. If you have multiple dashboards, you can switch across them. You can export and you know, you can export a dashboard, right? Maybe you know, you may want to kind of give the same dashboard to one of your colleagues. Then you can download it and send it to him. And I think you can even import a dashboard, right? Upload this file, you upload it. That file will have what is that you want to be. So the downloaded file can be uploaded as simple as that, right? So this is what your. Now here in the settings, in the portal setting, you had seen this option, where do you want to land, right? So choose the default view. Now, whether you want to land into a dashboard, land onto a dashboard, or to a home page is what it defines. Whenever you log in here, whatever you select here will define where you will be taken whenever you log in. By default, it is a home page. Whatever you see, this is your home. So this is about your dashboard, and then you got these favorites. Okay, these favorites. Now favorites, you can add some services to your favorites, like what you add to your Internet Explorer or Chrome browser or whatsoever. Now you can add certain services to your favorites list. Maybe day in, day out, you work on virtual machines deployment. Maybe you work on load balancers day in, day out. Rather going and searching every time and navigating to that service, I can add that specific service to my favorites so that at one click I can switch to that particular service. Then how do I add a specific service to my favorites? You can go to the all service or search from here or whatever. Go to that service that whatever you want to add. Maybe I want to add this disk service, right? Keep your cursor there, then you see this star button here, right? Then select that star button, then this service will be added to your, what you call it as, favorites. And in order to remove it from your favorites, the same way like what you did for addition, I'll again go to the disk and just, deselect it. Then it will be removed from my favorites. And of course, you can move the items within your favorites to up and down. You can move them. So this I'm explaining because it will help you for better management whenever you use your portal to kind of manage things. So that's how it will be easy for you to understand all this. Right? This is about your portal. I'll pause here for a while. If you have questions, please ask. Any questions from anybody on whatever I explained so far? No? All good?
Yeah, good, Vicky.
Okay. Right. So let's get into further details. Now we understood portal, right? So let us get into some other details. Now, whatever you deploy on Azure Cloud, right? In Azure Cloud, whatever you deploy, you call it as resource. So whatever you deploy on Azure Cloud, you call it as resource, whether it be a virtual machine, whether it's a network interface card, whether it is a load balancer, whether it's a public IP address, any resource that which you deploy, any entity rather, I can say it as any entity that you deploy on Azure, you call it as resource. So in order to deploy a resource, now as we know that we should have a subscription. And subscription will define billing as well. So you need what? Subscription. So subscription defines billing. There can be multiple subscriptions within one Azure. What do you call it as? There can be multiple subscriptions for one organization. Right? There can be multiple subscriptions for any organization. Now, why do you need multiple subscriptions? Now, first of all, let us try to understand what a subscription meant at a very high level. Subscription will help you with billing. In the sense, you may have multiple cost centers, let us assume. So you may have a finance cost center, you may have a finance department, the finance cost center. You may have a IT department with their own cost center. You may have what do you call it as HR department with their own cost center and so on. Then in order to understand the billing, in order to do a better management, you may have to go with multiple subscriptions. So for now today, understand that subscriptions is meant for billing. It will help you with billing. So when you deploy any resource in Azure, it will have an associated cost, right? So that's how your cloud service will work, right? So it will have an associated cost. So whenever you deploy a resource in Azure, you will be telling Azure that, boss, for this resource, you go and charge this to this subscription. And because you're tagging a subscription to the resource, that's how your Azure understands the cost should go to this particular subscription. So a resource deployment requires subscription. That is point one. And the second thing that what we should know is any resource deployment should also require a location or region. So when you deploy a resource in Azure, you will be putting in one of their data centers. But which data center? Which location? You may go with your nearest data center. If you are in Hyderabad, maybe you prefer to go and put it in a region called as South India, where the data center is located in Chennai. So based on your nearest location, you may choose the region. Or maybe there might be some services which are available only in some regions, and you may pick based on the service availability in the region as well. So, but whatever the case, whenever I deploy any resource in Azure, I also require a region, or what do you call it as location to be specified. A region or location to be specified. So that is your second requirement. So all the resources that whatever you deploy will have a subscription associated, will also have a region or location where your resource is going to sit. Right? That is your second. And it will also have something called as resource group. Called as resource group. Now what is this resource group? As the name says, a group of resources. Now why do you need to group these resources? A resource group is logical container. You can call it as container. You can call it as a container. You can compare with a folder in your, on your machine. Now, what do you do in a folder? You go and put some files and folders of a specific category, right? That's what you do when it comes to putting your files and folders. Similarly, Azure Resource Group is a container which holds resources of a specific category. Now, on what basis this category is defined? On what basis you categorize them? Could be based on project, could be based on geographical location, it can be based on your environment, depends on your organization, how do you want to manage this part. But your resource group will help you to kind of identify your resource of a, by putting them into a resource group. So as I said, you can call it as a container, and this container will have a set of resources of specific category already. Let us take the example of, I got a project called as Project ABC. Project ABC. And I can create a resource group with this name. I can create a resource group with the name called as Project ABC. And I can put all the resources of Project ABC into a resource group called as Project ABC. So now what is that, in what way it is helping me? It is helping me to kind of manage all the resources within that resource group collectively. I can manage all the resources in that resource group collectively. So let me put that in a diagram. Okay, so let us say this is your resource group, and this resource group name is, what is that? Project ABC. And let us say this project ABC has a requirement of some servers. It has got a requirement of some database instance. It has got a requirement of maybe some firewalls. So all the entities, all the resources belonging to this particular resource group of that particular project are in the resource group called as project ABC. Now, if I want to manage these things, I can manage them collectively as a resource group. I can manage them as a resource group. If I want to set up some policy, I can set up at the resource group level. If I may want to make some changes, I can make changes to the entire resource group itself. So that is one way of looking at it. The other way is it can be part of an entire life cycle of the project itself. The resource group can span entire life cycle of the project. So whatever the resources in that resource group called project ABC, they share the same life cycle. They have the same life cycle. That's another way of looking at it. So either way, you create a resource group for better management and your logical categorization. Now you don't want to use it as a project ABC, not with a project name, then I may go with environment also. Maybe I may want to put this prod. There's a resource group I create with the name called as prod. Then I can go and create a resource group is prod. All my production resources, I can put this in a resource group called as prod. Another way of doing it. Right? And one resource can be part of only one resource group. In the sense, you cannot have a single resource sitting in two resource groups. Not possible. You're getting that, right? So if you have a VM, let us say VM1, it can be either a project ABC resource group or it can be production resource group. You cannot have a resource sitting in two resource groups. So you cannot have resource sitting in two resource groups. You cannot have resource sitting in two resource groups. So whenever I deploy what do you call it as resource, I need, what do you call it as, these mandatory entities. Yeah, you got any question?
Yeah. So how are they interconnected to each other? So what is the logic?
When we say they
resources, when you say we are, see there looks like hundreds of resources, right? So when you drag and drop here and there, so what is the logic? How are they interconnected?
See, when we talk about, if you're talking about resource group and resources in that resource group, now they are interconnected at your network layer, right? So that's how the connection between them will be, right? So maybe let us say, let me put it in a different way, okay, so that you understand it. Now let us take another example, okay? So let us say you have an environment. Let us say I created a resource group based on maybe the applications itself, assume so. Let us say a web server resource group. Okay, so let us take this as an example. Maybe you take this, another resource group, maybe a database resource group. Okay, so database resource. So it's more or less like you have this category, but when it comes to the communication, they will sit in a network layer which will have communication among them. So that's how they interact with each other. So putting them in two different resource group will not isolate them when it comes to the communication. It's just your understanding, your management purpose, you're creating what you call it as these boundaries, right? Containers. So simple example to relate would be you have a two folders, like what you can move like what you can move files from here to there, you can move resources from one resource group to the other resource group. It is very much possible. But when it comes to the connectivity, they are connected using your network layer. They're connected using your network layer. There is no boundary when it comes to the accessibility within across the resource groups, not like that. It is just a logical categorization for you to identify and categorize what is that resource belongs to which resource group, and better management. It doesn't control the access, it doesn't restrict the access. No, that is not there here. For that, you have other ways of doing it, which you will understand in NSGs and other stuff, but this is specifically only for logical categorization and to better management. That's all. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Right. Any other questions from anybody else before I move further?
One doubt.
Yeah, Ramesh.
Like our subscription is from US. Can we add a resource from here, or else can we have a subscription from India? Is there any limitations for that?
So accessibility of see, subscription doesn't have a region. Okay, subscription doesn't have a region. Subscription, you go and let me put it differently. Okay, so let us say that you got into some commercial website. Okay, and they got their what do you call it as presence across different regions across the globe, right? So when you subscribe once, that site may allow you to purchase things across the globe. Very much possible. Same way here, when you subscribe yourself to Azure Cloud, you can deploy resources anywhere. You can deploy resources anywhere across the globe. It is not specific to that region where you are sitting. Now I am in India, I have subscription, but it doesn't tag me to only India location. No. Subscription will allow you to deploy resources in any of the region across the globe as long as you have access to that. Right? So it doesn't have a region restriction when it comes to the subscription. But when it comes to the deployment of resources within the subscription, you can restrict it. Some policies you can put it, saying that my organization can only use a region called as South India. Anything other than that, I will not allow my resources to deploy. You can restrict it. But when it comes to the subscription, you can deploy resources across all the regions by default. It has no restriction to the location, right? So that's why when you try to create what you call it a subscription, nowhere it will ask you a region. I'll show you that tomorrow, but it won't ask you any region, right? It won't ask you anything. It doesn't have any region specific what you call it as boundary.
Yes, sir.
Right. So we understood a little bit about resource group, right? So let us try to see how do you create a resource group in Azure. Let us see how do you create a resource group in Azure. So let us get into the portal. So in order to create a resource group, you'll go and look for a service called as resource groups. Go and look for a service called as resource groups. You can see this service called as resource groups. Now there are already a list of resource groups which I had created earlier. Let us try to create one to understand it further. Okay, so let me add a resource group. Now, when I create a resource group, here is what it is asking you. All right, it is asking you, boss, what is the subscription? What is the name of the resource group? And what is the region or location where this resource group will sit? These are the questions that which are asked. But let us try to read this English here, that whatever we have. Okay, so a resource group is a container that holds related resource of a Azure solution. A resource group can include all the resources for the solution or only those that you want to manage them as a group. You can decide how you want to allocate resources in a resource group based on what makes most sense for your organization. So this is what we discussed, right? It's a container that holds related resources or objects, and it will help you to manage it collectively. And you can go with, I mean, the way that whatever you want to manage it, you can go with the same, right? Maybe a project wise, maybe a department wise, maybe location wise, or what. Okay, so let us say I want to create a resource group. I want to create this resource group for a subscription called as MSDN subscription. And I'll name this resource group as a test resource group. Maybe I'll put some new here so that I think I have already the test RG. Test resource group new. And then region, where do you want to deploy this? You may want to deploy this resource group in one of these locations, right? Select the locations where you want to deploy. Let us say I want to deploy this in South India. I want to deploy this in South India. Right? So these are the few details that which you provide. Then you have something called as tags. Now what are these tags? You said that you can logically categorize your resources by using resource groups, but you can further categorize them by using something called as tags. Then how is these tags are helping you to further categorize your resources? So let us take another example here. Let us say you have a resource group called as prod. Okay, you have a resource group called as prod. So in the production resource group, you may have multiple types of production environments, right? Web production environment, database production environment, maybe infrastructure production environment. Maybe you got what you call it as file share production environment, and so on, right? Multiple production environments. Now, how do I further categorize this production environment? How do I further tag them to these specific subcategories? That's where your name value tags are coming into picture. Now, let us say this resource group, whatever you created, belongs to a department called as HR. It holds the resources belonging to a department called as HR. Then I can put a name value called as department HR. And it holds, let us say, environment called prod. I'll say that environment prod. And all these resources may sit in a location XYZ. So I'm tagging certain values and names to this resource group, which will help me to further categorize these resources. That is the advantage. So we'll discuss this separately in one of the topics, how the tagging will help you to, filter resources, look billing tagging wise, get a report based on tags. All those things are very much possible But remember for today that it's a name value field which will help you to further categorize your resources. And this tags is available not only for resource groups, for any resource that which you deploy in Azure, you can tag it to a name value. And you can tell that this resource belongs to this name and this value. And using that name value fields, tomorrow you can generate reports. Maybe your boss may come and ask you, Boss Vijay, I need all those production web servers used by HR department. Then when I have these name value tags assigned to a resource or resource group, then tomorrow I can run some query and generate that report. And tomorrow your boss may come and ask you, Boss Vijay, I need the cost of database servers used by finance department, and that database server should be a production database server. Then how do you do that? During the creation of the resources, you tag your resources in a meaningful way so that you use those tags tomorrow and generate the reports. That is the advantage of tagging. So every organization will use these tags and they make it mandate. They make it mandate to use this so that you have that control on the environment and generate the reports and then use that for your internal purpose. That is your tagging. But this is not a mandatory field for you. You can go and create it, but you have to set a policy to make this as a mandatory field that we will learn in our policies and other stuff. Right? So then you can review and then you can see there's a validation that which will happen and then you can create this. Now in the notification option, you will see this notification which says resource created. Right? So this is how you can create a resource. And this notification icon that whatever will you see here will help you to see whether the resource is deployed or not. If it is deployed, whether it is successful or not. And as I said, you can pin it to your dashboard from here. Now this resource group can be pinned to a dashboard. Now you can go to the dashboard, then the resource group should be available within your dashboard. Somewhere you should see here, right? Yeah, test resource group RC. There are no resources in it, but it is a blank resource group which is tagged. So likewise, you can create a resource group and then tag it to a resource, tag it to a dashboard as well. Okay, right? So we'll stop here. Tomorrow we'll continue further discussion on resource group, and tomorrow we'll understand virtual machine topic. Okay, so from tomorrow onwards. Tomorrow it's Saturday, right? So tomorrow and day after tomorrow we don't have class. We'll meet on Monday. On Monday we'll start with our what we call it as virtual machines concepts, where we understand different sizes of virtual machines, operating systems, and all those things in our next. So if you have questions, please ask.
Okay, can we have nested resource groups?
No.
You cannot have.
No, we cannot.
What if there is a requirement because suppose we might have like a child domain and we will have a child domain concept where maybe there is a requirement. How will this portal will help?
So okay, so the hierarchy is something like this. Okay, so we haven't gone to that level, but as you asked, so the hierarchy is something like this. There is something called as management group. Okay, come from the top. There is something called as management group, and below this management group, you will have subscriptions. Okay, you can have multiple subscriptions, as I said, right? Subscriptions. And below the subscriptions, you will have your resource groups. Okay, you will have resource groups. And below your resource groups, you will have your resources. Now, if you want to go with nested resource group, then it is not possible. Maybe you may have to look at having a separate subscription and have multiple resource group under it. right? So that is one way of doing it. But yeah, when you ask, can we nest one resource group in the other? No, you cannot. But that's where your tagging are coming into picture. Tags are coming into picture because you cannot further logically categorize them, right? So you are saying that you cannot further put one more resource group in a production resource group, maybe specific to an environment, specific to application wise or whatsoever. That's where you are tagging it so that you can further categorize them and get those details whenever you need, right? So that thing can be done using tags, but yes, you cannot nest them, one within the other. But one subscription can have multiple resource group. If you want to do it management that way, maybe you can go with a subscription and then, have multiple resource group under it. That's the only way. But under resource groups, no, you can have only resources. You cannot have resource groups.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, any other questions, guys? Okay, so if no questions, we'll catch up on Monday at the same time. So I haven't uploaded the videos. I'll be doing it today, and I'll provide access to all of you guys. You guys provided emails. I'll share access to those email address. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for joining. I wish you have a great weekend and great day ahead. Bye.
Thanks, Vijay. Bye.
Thank you.